Someone did. Okay, good. Hey, I have a lot of stuff to talk about, and I am really excited to have a chance to talk with you. But first, let me just welcome everybody. It's super exciting to be able to see this many people who have been devoted to Office over the past year and will help us make Office XP successful. We couldn't do it without you, and we're kind of passing the baton to you at this point. And so we've built a great product. We've gotten a lot of feedback from you about how to change it, what to do, and I'm going to kind of give you an inside scoop of that today. But first, let me just thank you and welcome you here to it's sunny Seattle now too. So, okay, let me start by talking a little bit about what I'm going to try to do is provide what I would call a context for the product and let you know what we were thinking, where the product came from, and sort of a little bit inside scoop on the vision for the product and how we went about building the features. You're going to get a lot of technical details over the course of this week. There's some great presentations about the details of the product. So it's kind of tough for me. I want to show you a whole bunch of stuff, but I don't want to take away the thunder of all the program managers and developers who are going to be here this week to show you things. There is way too much to show in a single meeting, so don't worry about that. We got plenty of stuff. I also want to say at the end, I want to do a little bit, if we have a chance, of some questions and answers. So be thinking up your good questions, and I'd be glad to take those from our partners, who I'm glad to see here, or from any of the folks on our Microsoft people. So let me start off by kind of taking a sobering look at some of the feedback that we've gotten in the past on the product. It's been difficult. Office 97, Office 2000, both of them phenomenally successful products in the marketplace in terms of how many copies we've sold, how many copies you helped us sell and deploy. But the feedback that we've gotten in reviews and from customers hasn't always been as positive as we'd like. And I want to share some of that with you because I think it'll help you understand where the whole idea of experience and empowering individuals and really hammering on sort of the end user in Office XP really comes from. So let me take you back for a second to quite some time ago, which would be November of 1996, and that was when we released Office 97. Some of you might remember that quite well. That was what was going on then was that Java applets, 4K Java applets, were going to replace all this bloated productivity software on your desktop. You were just going to download them and run away, and somehow we were going to cram all of Word's features into 4K because it was going to be just the features you need. And that was what the marketplace was like. It was interesting to release a product like Office 97 and that because we had focused on adding a whole bunch of features to our product. So we kind of just head-on collision with the marketplace. And it was really interesting. We got some great feedback. I remember opening up the New York Times that morning and Office 97, Leviathan set sail. I had to go look up Leviathan. Had no idea what that word meant. And then Wall Street Journal, on top of assaulting, just a full assault on our friend Clippit, the nerve, off by default in Office XP. If we had more time, I'd show you a videotape of stuff about the assistant, but next time. At the MTB, I'll do that, okay? Another one, Wall Street Journal, Office 97, 3,500 new features, some useful, most not. That hurts. You work 2 years on a product, you open up the newspaper in the morning. That one, the Wall Street Journal one, actually happened the morning of our launch event at Comdex. That hurt. Then we kind of say, okay, you know what? We get it. All this feedback about Java applets, it's really all about we've got to do TCO, and we've got to make the product easy to deploy. It's got to be a corporate product. I think we really got it. We made a huge advance in Office 2000. And so then you kind of go, well, what was the customer reaction to that? Gartner, for many enterprises, Office migration is not a must. Yankee Group, Office 2000, new and improved, or slightly tweaked and modified. Ouch. This stuff hurts, And the thing was, both of those, absolutely rave reviews over our TCO advances. Darwin setup, being able to customize it, custom installation wizard. But then they said, heck, there's not enough for end users in it. So congratulations, Microsoft. You made it a little bit easier for corporate IT to deploy, but you didn't have any end user features in it. So if you get the theme now my head's spinning because we had a lot of end user features, but they were too many. So we didn't put any in, and that wasn't enough. So it seems that there's got to be some kind of middle. So I kind of tried to sum up sort of the feedback over the past 2 releases. And it's hard because I don't want to lose sight of the success we've had as a business. So sometimes you kind of say, well, maybe the pundits aren't correct. But, we actually hear this from customers. I hear it from you all the time. I get lots of mail from you. I'm always lurking on all the aliases. And, every once in a while I reply. And then I get a whole bunch of things. Oh, my God, I didn't know you were here. And so just a warning. I'm known to contribute to Outtalk. I'm on the PSS alias now. And I had about 3 debates on XML in the past week with people, too. So that's kind of exciting. So some of the things that we learned about Office 2000. Administrator enterprise features, absolutely necessary for the product, but they're not sufficient. So what we heard from the IT people on our Office Advisory Council was, hey, you've got to give me something. You can't just tell me to go to my boss and say, hey, my job will be easier if you let me deploy Office 2000. I mean, it's a great message, but that's not my boss's concern, unfortunately. And so we've got to give them some end-user stuff. Got to tell you, we actually got a lot of positive feedback on the stability of Office 2000. It was the most stable and reliable release we'd ever done to date. But the problem was that end-user productivity is what Office is all about. So you've really got to do something there. You can't just do a bunch of corporate features and expect deployment to take over from there. A lot of feedback from our end-user support from PSS, where we handle the phone calls, and our website, that some basic features still just don't work. Cut and paste. 10 years later, it still doesn't work. The auto features, they drive people crazy. Not you, I know that. I know it's just some other people that they drive crazy. But so we study that, and I'll talk about that in a second. Email. The emailing attachments, all of a sudden, over the course of developing Office 2000, actually, attachments just became the way things work. That's your offline store for important documents, your inbox. The way you share information, your inbox. And why is that? Well, 2 reasons. One, it's really convenient. It's got to be the easiest way, one place to go look. And the other is, more and more, you guys went out and you helped us fix the challenges with email gateways and being able to get attachments out of a corporation and get them back in. And so now you could work with your customers, your partners, your contractors, and all those people outside your firewall. You can work with them with attachments. So it just became which you can't do with a file share. So it just became the standard way to communicate outside your corporation. And then finally, we heard lots and lots. Hey, Office is a critical component for lob applications. You've got to keep advancing it there. You can't just, sit around and say, we did VBA in Office 97, we're all done. So we've got to do things in that arena. So I think those are some of the key things that we learned from Office 2000, and really try to show you a little bit of, in a sense, the pain that we felt from the 97 release and the 2000 release, because I hope it helps you understand what we were thinking when we went, to go plan Office 10, we called it, and I'm going to probably slip back and forth. When I say Office 10, it means when we were planning it. When I say Office XP, it means we're done now. In fact, just to let you know how done we are, I should have done my little customer research up front. How many people are running XP full-time now? Okay, those of you who aren't, see me after this. Okay. I'd really love to make a pivot table now of build 2511, 2603, just to get a feel, but I won't do that. It's where my head is right now. Every day, we look at the ITG stats, how many people are running. So we've got to get everybody to go log off and log back on, because when you log on, the script will actually pick up your WinWord.exe version number for us. So that'd be really helpful. Problem with NT is that you never need to log off anymore. So it's kind of a problem. Let me just kind of give you that perspective, tell you where we're coming from, and hopefully now I'm just going to kind of dive in, show you a few of the details, and really just talk about, gosh, where does this product come from? Many of you have been involved in some of the research that we do with customers prior to the release, and really what I want to say is that we've got a whole lot of different customers, a whole lot of different kinds of feedback, a whole lot of different ways of looking at the problem. One of the product planners on Office years ago summarized it best by saying, building a product like Office or building Office is like trying to order pizza for 100 million people. And that's how we feel sometimes. You find somebody who really, really wants something. Boy, you can find somebody not only who doesn't want it, won't buy the product if you have it. And you've got to kind of reconcile things like that. Jeff mentioned the auto features. That's a good example of a kind of feature where you look at it, we study it, we instrument a product, and we work with customers who have the instrumented version. And you know what we know? We know that 99.8% of the time, the auto features not only do the right thing, the customer liked it, and probably didn't even notice that we did it. 0.2% of the time, it's the wrong thing. And not only is it the wrong thing, it's like the most annoying thing you could imagine. And so it's like that 0.2% makes the other 99.8% look like we completely screwed up. And, it's really fun. I mean, sometimes, I'll give you an example. With lawyers, one of the things, if you've ever seen a legal document, which unfortunately I've had to see one too many lately, you type, you do like some 2,000-page thing that means nothing, and then you get to the very end. Okay, so we're in a room with a bunch of developers and technical people. Picking on lawyers is just easy. That's just... Believe me, you should hear what they do at the lawyer conferences when they make fun of geeks. So it kind of works both ways. Just remember that. But you type some big whole document, and then you get to the end, and you got to do that signature line, where the person's supposed to sign. And so you do 10 little dashes, and you press return, and then you got this horizontal line across the whole paper. But everything else worked just fine. All the spelling, all the bullets and numbering, except this horizontal line that you just now stare at. And so you know what people do? They print it out and they white out the line and copy the page. That is not an experience that we want. But let me tell you a little bit about what kind of stuff we get for the product. I kind of think of the feedback we get in 3 big buckets. We get some end-user feedback that's sort of like customer requirements and inputs. And in this case, I would kind of say, do more end-user features. I don't know what they are, but do them. That's like a requirement. Sometimes we make big, huge technology bets on the product. A big bet that we made in Office 2000 was on HTML and web documents, which you're going to see pay back in spades with Office XP. This release, it's all about XML. So we got a whole bunch of XML stuff in the product, in Access and in Excel and in Smart Tags, to really take advantage of it. Nobody was asking us for XML. This is a technology bet that not only Office, but all of Microsoft is making. And then sometimes customers have what you could politely call unarticulated needs, which is a fancy customer-focused research word that kind of means stuff people want, but they don't quite know how to ask for it. And that's okay, because people have real jobs. They don't really have to design software if you own a small business, if you are an accountant in a big corporation, or you're a dry cleaner or a lawyer or a dentist. Your job is not to design software, it's to get all that other stuff done. So let me give you an example of that in Office XP, which is the crash recovery feature. It's a perfect example where if you ask customers what to do in the product, they just say, well, don't crash. Okay, that's a great idea, but we're all engineers, and the likelihood of not crashing is small. So what we have to do is we have to invent a new feature to help us in that area. And what we invented was the crash recovery, and I'm going to dive into the details, but when you show it to customers, it never would have occurred to them that you could do that. That you would just, type away, crash, and then start up again right where you left off. They would just wow. It's just it never really occurred that would be the best way to think about the problem. And so we take all of those inputs and we kind of put them in this big churning funnel thing. And I often get carried away with the new animations in PowerPoint now, but I decided to tone it down. And mostly an internal crowd, and they don't like the gratuitous animations, I'm told. So, but you got to check out the one where you can draw a path and have the thing flow around the screen however you want in whatever shape. And it's kind of really cool. So you can do figure eights and just do a whole regular ice skating thing right in the middle of your slide. We have a whole bunch of different techniques for looking at how we solicit feedback. We look at the product support call generators. We look at what comes in through Premier support. We do lots of stuff with, we had an end user advisory council for this release. We also had our Office advisory council that's gotten quite popular. Lots of different techniques, and it all feeds in to really help us create the best product that we can. Early on in the product, the first step is we create a product vision. So this is actually the original Office 10 product vision slide that we created about 24 months ago, 18 months ago. And I just wanted to share it with you so you can see where the experience comes from. Because what happens is, we're just a bunch of developers. We're writing code, we're dreaming up stuff. So we come up with the vision that's based on customer feedback and input, and then we translate it into something that's really cool, a whole experience with the personal experience, the team experience, and the organization experience. But for Office 10, what we wanted to do was, we said the soul of Office 10 comes from two powerful and complementary initiatives. First, we want to improve the way people share information and collaborate. So the primary thing, we just had to do better at sharing information. It's what everybody does. And then we also wanted to make sure that this was an exciting, customer-focused, and easy-to-upgrade release. So what did that mean? We don't change the file formats. So all the stuff you're seeing, it's the same file formats as Office 2000. And so that's part of making it exciting. I think Andre's demo, pretty exciting demo. Lots of stuff to really get people going. Anytime you can see applause in the middle of a demo, I think you're kind of doing well. And what we did is we divided up our efforts into 6 different focus areas. And each one of these areas spanned all the products. It spanned our way of thinking about all of Office 10 at the time. And it meant we were going to nail the fundamentals. And that's where you get stuff like crash recovery from. That's all about doing what Office does, but doing it better. Making our everyday tasks easier through innovation. Smart tags, things like that, where we just took an everyday task and said, here's something people churn on. Let's just make it easier. Collaborative document creation. So that's all about making it easy for people to share and collaborate on documents. Unlocking data with Office tools, like the web query that Andra showed. It's just a great way to really hammer home the idea of getting at that data and really making it a corporate asset. Universal web documents and websites. Microsoft SharePoint, front page, all about HTML and XML across the products. And also doing a great job on Office and Exchange for corporate groupware. Really making sure we fix some very basic things like Mappy RPC cancel dialog, making synchronization better, appointment coloring, group calendaring, making proposed new meeting times, instant messenger integration, all these things, integrating Outlook and Exchange even tighter than we have in any previous release. So that's the vision for the product. And so we marched on that for 18 months until we got today, where actually tomorrow is the day that Office XP enters what we call code escrow, which means we're pretty much done. So if you happen to be in Building 17 tomorrow at 3 o'clock, please join us for Twinkies. That's our little tradition that we have in Office. I know. No big hot tubs, none of that kind of stuff. We're very low-key, But it's not just Twinkies this year. We're going to do a whole Hostess buffet. So... there's only so much of the morale budget, gang. You gotta... Okay, so that kind of led us to what we call smarter work experiences. Jeff kind of gave you an overview of each of those experiences. What I'm going to do is I just want to drill in and just kind of give you the features that make up a lot of those experiences. And I'm going to do a little bit of a demo, too, and kind of show you that. But, we've got personal experience, team experience, and the organization experience. Okay, so the personal experience. That's all about just making Office better, one person, one copy, one customer at a time. Making it do things that Office is supposed to do, having it do them better. Things like the task pane or smart tags, just make it easier. Make it easier to do the things that you could do before, but now with fewer steps. One of my favorites is instant messenger integration, which I've been using IM outside of the firewall, and now everybody's starting to use it inside the firewall, and it's really cool because I can actually open up a message and get the current status of the person in the title bar of the message. So I can be typing away and I can see, hey, look, this person's online. Let me start a chat session with them. Tools you can rely on. One of the things we added in Office this time, safe mode. So, you got a boot problem with one of the applications. Now we detect that and boot without any of the add-ins, without loading default templates, and without loading any code or things like that. So it makes it much easier to figure out what's going on. Let's say repair and extract, an ability to actually fix on the server installations using custom maintenance wizard. So there's something where patches come out and it's really hard. We can actually yank out the PID and fix things up on the server as well. So lots of stuff all around the personal experience and really making it be something that really jumps out. This is the kind of thing where you could be able to do a demo in 5 minutes, get people really excited and say, God, that just makes things easier. I've actually done an experiment with my friends where I've given them the beta copy of Office. These are people who don't work at Microsoft. And given them the beta copy of XP and had them use it for a couple weeks. And these are all people who create lots of PowerPoint, Word, and Excel things. And then I made them go back to Office 2000. My people who used to be my friends, now, it's been an amazing experiment. they can actually play back for me the features that they're missing. So that tells me that not only did we do a good job, but they actually know exactly what's missing now. So in the past, where people would say, oh, I can't tell what's new, you know what? We take the release away, we know what's new, and it comes right back, and they tell me, like things like, well, and of course it's great, you get this, like one of them, my friends, brain surgeon. I'm not making this up, so this is not a dummy. It's like, well, I don't know, I'm missing that thing on the side, the thing with the clipboard thing. I need that thing. And then, I was writing all these letters, and I need that blinky thing with the address. It's not their job to know all of our product names, our feature names, but it gives me an idea. It's like, it was so rewarding. And so I would encourage you to actually kind of maybe think about that with some of your customers. Kind of let them play around, and then kind of let them try it. Make sure that it just hammers home the advances in the product. Let me just kind of highlight a couple of features for you with some screenshots, just so you kind of know what we were thinking when we did this. One of the problems that we had time and time again with customers was just this whole idea of, we have all these features in Office, and there are a lot of features that are very, like, tweaky. You kind of do it, you want to see what it looks like. You do it, you want to see what it looks like. And the problem is, if you've got a modal dialog for that, you're constantly bringing up this thing, clicking OK, going back and forth. And so sometimes in, like, PowerPoint, we had a little bit of a preview thing with, like, the fonts. But nothing that really just made it easy to cycle through stuff. So we actually went through the product, and we found a whole bunch of these modal kind of processes that really should be modeless. And we created the task pane to really handle that. Things like when you're creating new documents and you can't really decide, do I want to use a template, do I want to open an existing one, or the Office clipboard, which kind of moves between all the applications, by the way, including Word Mail when you use Word as your mail editor, which is the default, so that you can cut and paste things from the browser, make those email messages. We call that hunter-gatherer. And that's the research that we saw where we watched people, how do they create a memo? Oh, creative writing, that's really hard. I think I'll just steal people's other memos and incorporate it into mine. And so they open up like 10 documents and, copy, 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 paste, 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 which is much easier than copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And so that's sort of, where the task pane for the clipboard came from. Or inserting clip art. You've got this dialog box that kind of blocks your whole PowerPoint presentation. How many times is the first clip art you inserted the one that you really think should be it? Never. So we fixed that in two ways. First, we made it really easy to just kind of, like what I like to do is I bring up the task pane and I kind of click on a whole bunch of different pieces of clip art and dump them all in, and then I play around and then delete some, recolor some. And then the other thing we did is we connect directly to Office Update and Clip Gallery Live, and it can incorporate 1 billion clips. Okay, it's not 1 billion. I'm just using Jeff's 2,000-pound counting system. So it's sort of... Jeff did leave, right? I might need your org chart wizard in a minute, okay? Another favorite, actually this is the one that my brain surgeon friend actually really, really missed. She's been creating all these PowerPoint presentations, and I guess in the world of academia, when you create a presentation, you don't have like standard templates that you have created for you. You get to pick which one. And so she's created like 50 presentations for this workshop she's going to, and she's used 50 different new PowerPoint templates. But each time, she sat there at the presentation and just cycled through all the templates, because that's a great task pane to do the different PowerPoint presentation designs. Or the slide layout. By the way, not only in the slide layout, which you can see right here, do we let you pick one of the different slide layouts. You can reapply it to that slide, and you can just cycle through them, and we automatically rearrange all the components of the slide. So the graphs and the side-by-side text, all this sort of stuff, which, by the way, we also automatically paste in the right place when you paste in from another source. So we've gotten much smarter about the layouts. And, by the way, oh, wow, applause for just talking. How about that? Keep going, really. Okay, another one. Another one that is just unbelievable. So how many of you, I know these are like these rhetorical questions that I know the answer to, because that's what customer research is all about. But how many of you had this problem where you send out a document for a bunch of people to edit, and they reformat it? And you, of course, being Microsoft people, painstakingly use the appropriate styles at every place. Or not. Okay, that's okay. And you get back this document with all this, like someone did a select all and changed the font. Another person, went and defined a new style. Another person just did a direct formatting with like creating a section or something like that. Well, we have a reveal formats task pane that actually shows all the formatting attributes for a selection. And then we tie that to the style work pane, which allows you to multiply select all the instances of a style. And it turns out you don't even need to use styles because we'll automatically create styles for you. And then you can change them, and if you want to change the document, it'll change all over the place just like you'd like. So just a great use of the modeless feature of task panes. Wow, that was quite the little task pane routine, wasn't it? Okay, let me dive in a little bit and tell you about crash quality, crash recovery, and a little bit about product quality. I mentioned before that we've definitely gotten positive feedback about Office 2000. But you know, we also know that Office 2000 crashes, and it crashes way too much. What we don't know is where it crashes, why it crashes, what people were doing when it crashed, whose machines it crashed on, or when it crashed. In fact, we don't know anything about the crashes at all, except that they annoy people and they cost billions of dollars in the economy. Let me give you an example. The PSS top 10 list for end user support for Office, 7 of the top 10 issues are crashes. We have for years had 7 of the top 10 issues be crashes, and for years we've worked with PSS and we said, here's an idea. When someone calls up with one of those crashes, I will put somebody on a plane and have them land in that person's house as soon as possible just to see this crash, because we can't repro it. You know what we get from PSS? GPF, or IPF is what they call it, IPF in 0007423ABF:296731. Now debug that. We don't know what version they're running, what device drivers they have, what printer they were using, what operating system they're using. We don't know anything about the crash. So we had to go and attack this problem. I want to tell you, though, some of the stuff that we've done in the product, because with independent of crash recovery, because it isn't a panacea. In fact, you're going to hear so much about it, you might think, well, this means it's not a problem anymore. It's still a problem. We still will crash, so we still have to work on that. But let me tell you some of the things that we've done in the dev cycle to really make sure that we've done a good job testing this product. Each release of Office is more stable than the previous release. And we know that because we know about the QFEs that get requested from customers. We know about the support calls we get. And we know that we're actually, the number of incidences per copy of Office is going down. The number of bugs that we get reported after the initial release of the product. The need for having an SR1 immediately after. When I first joined the Office team, I was there promptly for the release of Office 4.2, B, C, and D in my first month. That was not good, not pretty. We also know that each release we find more issues. And I use the word issue because bug is such a loaded term. But I mean bug. And I mean how many things are in our RAID database where we track bugs for Office XP? About 30% more than there were for Office 2000. And that's because we record everything. Every hiccup, every time somebody sends us a piece of mail, every time you send mail to off-bug, every time you fill out that website, we record it. And we deal with it. And so we keep getting more and more of those, and we deal with more and more of them. Office XP has the highest rate of automated testing that we've ever had in a product. And so we can now drive Outlook for days at a time, reading mail, opening mail, just nonstop, continuously. It's us simulating, you know, if we do that nonstop for a day, that's like simulating 2 days of normal use. And that also helps us a lot with regressions. So that means bugs that things that used to work that we broke at somewhere along the product cycle. And we also do a great deal more on code coverage. And this means covering all the parts of the product, all the pieces of code, so all those weird error conditions and things like that. So that helps with the boundary cases. But we still crash, and so that's a problem. And so Office crash recovery, and also, by the way, you might have seen it in Internet Explorer, you might have seen it in Mars, but it's a development we did in the Office team. Crash recovery is just a fundamental improvement, not only in the product stability, but in just the whole way we think about interacting with customers, the whole way we think about what it means to be done with the product, what it means to build the product, and to know where we stand. And so the biggest thing, of course, you saw, end users pick up right where they left off, most of the time. And again, it's not a panacea. Some bugs actually crash the crash protection. And those are very bad, way bad. And that's right back to getting a hex address. So I want to make sure everybody understands, and Eric Levine will do a great session on what we call Office Watson, which is the name of it, when we are later in the week. And he will really talk about the limitations and the realities of it. But it has really rocked. And let me go through some of the details of that. The development team not only gets, you know, a ping, hey, we crashed, but we get all the right information to solve this problem. And I want to make sure up front everybody understands we've paid extraordinarily close attention to privacy issues around this feature. And also security issues. So we've done full audits of the feature about what travels over the wire and things like that. So I feel we've done an amazing job being sensitive to this issue. Customers will freak out the minute that they hear that we are doing anything like sending information. And I understand that. It's a very, credible concern. And we've done everything we can in the UI and in the product to either not send anything or to make sure you know every byte that's getting sent. So the first thing that happens, you crash. You get this awful dialog box, which we did work hard on the politeness. I mean, come on, that's so much better than, what you got before, which was a bunch of hex numbers. And I think this is much nicer than the Apple smiley face. Crashed, okay. No. Never understood that one. Okay, no, it's truly not okay. Where's the option called no? Drop dead. Okay, so what happens? The first thing that happens on the local machine in MS Info 32, there's a crash log. And so right here, you can see all the events that have happened on this application and actually a subset of the information that we'll package up. So on the machine, so any machine you walk up to or you remote administer, you can actually see the recent crashes on that machine. That's really great for diagnosing a help desk call because if the person says, I've been having all this flaky stuff, you might actually just go look at the machine and say, have you been crashing? And start out there. So that's the first thing. Then, back at Redmond, so person crashes, you click that send report. Here's what happens. Within minutes, we have an entry in our database. We call it dw.net, Dad Watson, the old name of Office when we started this group. And so here is the external, the bucket that defines the bug. You can see all sorts of neat stuff. The unique ID for the bucket, the name of the application, the version number, the module name in case it was a DLL, all the module the offset. So there's the little hex address, but now we got all this other stuff. In fact, we've got all this stuff like here's a stack trace that we sent. So that's so diagnostic because immediately you know where you crashed in the whole call stack. So that tells you, was it a wild call? Was it very systematic? Is it deep in the bowels or is it some top level thing? Very, very helpful right there. And so write that file. It's a teeny little file, like a 14K cab file, which, by the way, first thing we do is we also connect that to RAID. So there's a bug in that database, in the bug database now that ties directly to that other record. So you crash, you've created a bug in our RAID database, just like that. So here's all the details of the bug. In this case, the tester actually went through and actually took a DW bug and created repro steps for it. So we obviously don't have the command history at the time. Then, let me show you what this really does to the product. This is a profile of the crashes for Beta 2. We had thousands and thousands of crashes. But what's so interesting, and why this is such a breakthrough, is that if you take the 1,000 top crashes, which is actually most of them, the unique crashes, the 1,000 crashes, the top crash caused 665 hits. That meant 665 people hit the most frequent crash. Better fix that bug. But the most interesting thing is, only 40 crashes account for over 50% of all of the crashes experienced in Beta 2. So out of 1,000 unique bugs, if we fix 40, we've eliminated half the crashes that our customers will experience. So that's a huge learning experience. We knew it had a steep curve. We had no idea how steep the curve is. So our job, just keep getting rid of this part right here. So we send out RC. We get a curve like that. The neat thing is with RC, this frequency drops way down because we keep eliminating those. So now you're talking about bugs that might only happen 100 times with 10,000 customers. Knock it off, and then pretty soon you're looking at a crash log that's just a bunch of one bugs hit one time. Not good. Obviously, you don't want to crash ever. But I'll tell you what, compared to having 665 people hit a bug versus having one person hit the bug, it's a huge win. So that's just a huge advance in the way that the product really can become more stable. After the crash, sort of after the party, what we do is these little 15K or so mini dumps, we call them, are actually copied up to a server at Microsoft.com that's live now, been handling MSN Explorer, been handling IE, can handle over 1 million crashes a day. We should not be so unfortunate. And what it does is we take these little mini dumps, you pop them right into Visual Studio. You've got all our symbols, all our source code. There you are. You're just looking right at the bug. You can't keep running it, of course, because it's not a core dump. It's just a symbol dump. But boy, it tells you the state of global variables. You're rocking. That's a lot better than just getting 16 hex digits. You know. I showed you some of the frequency. Here's the customer experience for that. First thing, if you say, I want to send you this information, entirely optional. In fact, the default is to not send. We thank you, and we consider your privacy carefully. We show you every byte we're sending. The next thing is, take an example of actually what happened in Beta 2. We had a bug that a whole bunch of people were hitting internally because they had old builds of Office. If you had a really old build, there was a bug with a Cicero module, which is part of the speech recognition IME, that caused immediate crash on boot. We actually will point you at a knowledge base article immediately upon the submission of the data and just say, here's how to avoid this crash. Here's how to turn off, like we had one in Outlook, and we told everybody just turn off autosave for a little while, and that'll make that go away. And then and that's the first step. So we can do that very quickly, and we can do that for all of our crashes if we could find a repro scenario. And then if it's a widespread one, we're just going to offer you a patch right then and say, hey, come download this, make it go away. And so we're not going to do a million patches or make your jobs really hard. We're going to do it for the ones that are critical, that meet the needs of the most customers. But we've wired that all into the process so that the product can get better over time using that data. So I think that's an incredibly cool feature. And it's an incredibly cool innovation inside the walls of Microsoft where all the work really will take place to make that feature work much better. Thanks. Make sure to applaud a lot for Eric Levine and Kirk Laram, who will both be here, who really did all the work on that. Just to give you an idea of the process, this feature got started because Kirk Laram, in development, wrote a spec. He's a developer, and he doesn't write a lot. But he sent me a piece of mail once, and he said, we should do this feature, and I'm calling it Dad Watson because of DW, which his daughter had just bought the little doll for DW. And that's the symbol of the team. There's DW dolls all over the hallway. And that's how, to give you an idea of where the creative ideas come from, sometimes it's not just from doing customer search, it's the developer had a clever idea and went with it, and he ran with it and owned the whole feature through the whole release. Great job. Let me tell you about the next experience, the collaboration experience. So the interesting thing about this experience is, at the heart and soul of Office is about collaborating. It's about communicating. And unfortunately, we haven't really done a whole lot to change that experience over the past few releases. We added Outlook, but we kind of didn't do enough tight integration. You saw some now where we really do a great job, where you can fully see attachments and things like that and use the preview pane well. The send for review feature that Anders showed, that's some real integration there. And there are lots of details about how that feature works, which you can also learn about later this week as well. But the core is we really set out to make collaboration fundamentally easier in this release. And we took a two-pronged approach. The rationale behind our design was really to do two things and provide two scenarios. One is we wanted to just nail the email-based collaboration experience because we felt that's the one that people are using with their vendors and their contractors and their employees that are remote and just using the most. And we just think that email won. That's the way that people share information. And it really, one of the things that just happens as a side effect, of course, is it shows the true benefit of client-side code. If you've got a bunch of people, one person on Yahoo email and another person on Outlook, sending attachments back and forth, you can tell the person on the Outlook side's got a much better experience about how that's going to work and how they're, viewing the file versus being able to edit and annotate it. Much better experience. And the email-based collaboration, it just works the way you do. You don't have to learn anything new. You drop an attachment, a Word attachment into a mail message, send it off to somebody. An Outlook XP or Office XP user opens up that attachment. It's in reviewing mode. Even though the person might not have sent it formally for review, we give you the option. How many times, the gymnastics that we make you go through when you get an attachment. Okay, I open the attachment. Now I edit it. Okay, I saved it, but where did I save it? And now I close this window, but I didn't actually lose my changes because Outlook somehow magically remembered that this file is some magic place. So now I'm going to close the message. Better save that message, though, because that's actually where the changes are, even though I thought I saved them before. But just to be sure, I'm going to save the file to my desktop, then forward the message to someone else and include this attachment again. What is that? That was... So I think we made some progress. I think you saw it. I'm really happy. I tell you, we could not do the Office XP name press release without that feature. We probably couldn't have come up with a name without that feature. So I'll get to that in a second. Let's see. Okay. The other scenario that we really want to enable is we have this great investment with Office 2000 around web documents and web creation. How many of you showed up to a customer, did a demo, showed web page preview, showed PowerPoint HTML, and the customer went, "That's awesome. We don't have an intranet." Okay, so it happened to someone. Good. Because that's what happened when we did all the research about the product. We did the Office Server extensions, but we didn't add enough features. There wasn't enough to justify switching from a file sharing world to an intranet world. Now, what we've done is we've actually got a two-prong attack on really helping get intranets working. And I got to tell you, this is just the way of the future. We've got to get customers excited about this because it's order of magnitude more improvement. We've used an intranet to do the specifications, the testing, and everything for building Office for 2 releases now. And we've got it nailed, how to build an intranet for any team that needs to develop a product or develop a service or share the information to do that. And we've really got some great ideas built into the product. The new Microsoft SharePoint Team Services really shows all of that learning, and the combination of Team Services with not just the web enhancements in Office 2000, which work great against Team Services, but the newer features in Office XP as well, really make for an incredible out-of-box experience. It's based on a well-understood workgroup metaphor, and it just builds on all of the Office HTML and front page work. I think we're going to have a killer experience there. And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about email collaboration when I get back, but I want to go and show you a little bit of a demo here on some of the Microsoft SharePoint Team Services. So here we have, how many people have actually seen this or run it, just so I can get a show of hands? So you've all looked at SharePoint Beta. Anybody install their own server yet? How about 4 clicks and you're up and running? Pretty cool. Excellent. Okay, I am not the world's best demo guy, but I'm going to give it a shot. But what I lack in demo skills, I make up for in passion, okay? Come on. Okay. So here we, hang on. Okay, so here we have the out-of-the-box experience of SharePoint. You just install it, you got 4 clicks, you're up and running. So you've got some very basic things. You've got announcements. I did customize the announcement. It's not quite out of the box. You've got team events. I created a link to all the sales tools out on HTTP Office Marketing. You can find all those. You've got a basic navigation bar across the top that divides the site into some fairly distinct entities, documents, discussions, lists, and where you go create things, and also all the administrative and site settings. The quick launch bar is the place where you can add the things that are really important to your workgroup. Shared documents is a default document library. General discussion is a default general discussion forum. Some contacts and tasks. Plus, right here, search. What is that search? It's IIS's built-in search, so it just builds right on top of all that. And in fact, one of the things that you can do with SharePoint Team Services is feed the whole site into a SharePoint portal server and have the portal server, or Tahoe, integrate all the searching across all of your SharePoint Team Services. So for me, what does success look like? Success looks like 1 of 2 deployments of SharePoint Team Services. The one we've got on SharePoint Beta, where end users can go up in the corporation, create their own website, and you use the ISP kit to create that kind of server. We ran, those of you that connected to SharePoint Beta, it's your basic 4-proc, 2 gig kind of server. We hosted, at the height, we hosted over 500 webs, 500 whole SharePoint sites on that server. We deleted a whole bunch last week because they weren't active because people were just playing, myself included. I had like 10. But we've got about 250 live mission-critical webs running there now. So you got the centralized IT administered, backed up by them, managed by them. Or you just get a whole bunch of enthusiasts in your companies, in your customers, deploying it in a way that, it runs on Windows 2000 Pro even. So you can install it on Pro, built on top of that. So you got a box that's got that, 4 clicks, you're up and running. And then you really want to get a SharePoint portal server in there as well, because that will aggregate all the content, and it will build an index and be able to search across all of them and do some great integration there as well. So here's the kind of the out-of-the-box experience. Let me show you. The core element of SharePoint is something we call a list. And a list is really just a table in SQL. It's a little bit more, it's not a flat table, it's a relational table, but it's we have all sorts of built-in lists in SharePoint. We've got a custom list where you can define all the columns, all the values. We can do a document library, which is great for holding, documents. One of my favorites is a survey, which allows you to do surveys, and I'll actually show you that in just a second. Discussions, announcements, and contacts. By the way, all the contacts, you can export a contact to Outlook, import them as well. Team events, which gives you a nice calendar view for team milestones, which is really helpful. A task list. One of the common things we see is in companies without Exchange, there's, they still have the need to share tasks across a group of people. So how do they do that today? They put like a spreadsheet out on a file share. Everybody's stepping all over each other. Someone sorts the whole thing. They lose a bunch. Someone forgets to, set the print range the right way. Confuses everybody. So we actually have a great way to do shared team tasks. And so let's just say, for argument's sake, we actually had a task that we were using an Excel spreadsheet for. Perhaps the trying to name all the features in Office task. And you want a hard job. You try to dream up smart tags and task pane and paste recovery and all those things. That's what marketing spends about 6 months doing, and it is really hard. So they actually create a spreadsheet to do that. But we now have SharePoint team services, so let's see what this can do for us there. Product name. So I'm just going to go here and browse to a spreadsheet that really is the actual spreadsheet we use for that. And I'm just going to click Import. And so it's immediately going to pop me up in Excel and give me the ability to import this spreadsheet. And I created a little named range there. And it's actually going to suck in all those records, create fields and stuff like that for it. And here you are. I just imported that whole list, and now it's a SharePoint list with all the cool features of SharePoint. Like, I can go ahead and I sorted it, so now it's all listed by the component. And so here you see the Office web components and things like that. So pretty neat. But now you're thinking, I might actually want to do some analysis on this. Like, sometimes, let's say I have a list of, one of the lists that I have are all the people that work on Office. And that way we can have like them write their description of what they work on, which is really helpful to kind of talk about the whole investments we're making in the team. But I like to create pivot tables of my lists. So let me just do that. I've got export right here. So I'm going to go ahead and export this to Excel. And not only is it exporting a copy of it, but it's actually using the new web query technology to make this a live set of the data. So I'm going to go here and I could do something like, well, let me just show you that. I'm going to go ahead and maybe sort that by component. And now I'm going to go back to the website and create a new item. And I'm going to go and say components. I added a feature myself. I'm going to call this Office Web Components Viewers. So, for the components, if you happen to not have an Office license, double GR, you can actually still use the Office Web Components in view-only mode, which is a new feature of Office XP as well. And so here you go. I'm going to go, yep, look, there's the item I just added there in the list. But if I go here and hit refresh, oops, it's going to be all the way at the end. There's the component one that I just added as well. So you can imagine, I've got the list. I take it offline. I do some analysis. I create pivot tables, charts, graphs. Then I go and hit refresh when I'm connected online, and I get all the changes that people made. You can do that for a survey or for any of the lists in the entire product. I think that's pretty cool. Thank you. Good job. Let's actually just go here, and I'm going to go and do my favorite feature, create a pivot table. Let's just see who's been busy, which team has been really busy. I'm going to go and let's just make a count of all of these kinds of features. Pretty cool. We now know that the SharePoint team had the most new things to name. Okay, well, that's their prerogative, I think. So let's just go ahead and save this as a web page. And one of the things we could do here is I'm going to browse directly to the demos document library. Here you see, opened up nicely, is the same view that you actually see on the web page. You can also see all of your SharePoint portal server libraries this way as well. So we have integration across the two products just like that. I'm going to go ahead and choose the Airlift document site that I have. I'm going to go ahead, I want to actually make this a pretty fancy thing. I'm going to choose a pivot table. I'm going to add interactivity and publish it with a pivot table. And go ahead and save that out. Now I'm going to go back to their website and go over to my documents. And here's this cool Airlift document library thing. And here's that page I just published. By the way, you can upload a document if you don't have that integrated share, or if you want to save it from a document, like a tool like AutoCAD or something like that. I can filter. I can also subscribe, not just to documents, but to any list item or any list you can subscribe and get an email when something has been added, changed, updated, things like that. Here's where I can modify the settings, add some extra columns, and do things like that. So let me just go ahead and click on that page. And if I did my job right, I will actually open this up in one of the new Office web components. And these were actually introduced in Office 2000, done tons of enhancements, mostly around the area of visualization, adding some features. We've also added a great deal of support for XML in these. A whole bunch of talks. Jay Messina is going to do a great talk that talks about the role of the web components and the XML that we've added there. But this, of course, is just the same pivot table functionality, but now it's in a web page. But think of the cool scenario you could do for your customer there. You could have a cool website, and you could publish an analysis portion of the site, too, where you do some cool pivots or graphs or charts. You can integrate all of that functionality fairly seamlessly. In fact, one of the things I mentioned, which I'm going to get in trouble for saying because we might not make this official, but I'll tell you anyway, and you can play around with it and do it, is that you could fetch a list as XML from the SharePoint Team Services website and pump it into anywhere you want. And so you can pump it right into the components or things like that. But one of the places you can pump that as XML is you could go back to Excel. So now let me just round trip that whole thing. And in fact, I really just did. This is exactly the same thing I was just looking at, and it's now in Excel. So pretty cool because I have all the same features there. And instead of team, I could maybe count the number of program managers that have been busy, and look and see who's been really busy. And it looks like Mike Morton, one of the SharePoint developers or program managers. So the same thing. So that's pretty cool. Let me actually show one more cool thing, which is I'm going to go and save this as a web page, and I'm going to save it in the document library that we talked about before. But here's something pretty darn cool. Instead of saving it as a pivot table, I'm actually going to go and save it as an XML spreadsheet. So there I go. I'm going to name it XML. Oops, not with an exclamation point on that. And it just went and saved it up there to the document library. And there's the XML spreadsheet. This is not interesting because I haven't applied a transform to it, but I want to show you this because that way you can see it's just XML, and there's all the stuff. I think that's pretty darn cool, and there's lots you can do with making up your own transforms, visualizing it however you want, pumping data in and out of Excel, and stuff like that. Let me just wrap up and just really quick just show you some of the site administration stuff just so you can see. Let's just say, what's it like to manage users on this thing? Well, it turns out we have this great web-based UI which works through firewalls. I didn't mention this, but we've got over we have about 200,000 potential customers that can host this via ISP because of Verio and AIT and a bunch of external ISPs as well as internal corporations. All this will work through a firewall and things like that. But let's just say you want to add a user to this. You could just choose Add User. And I wanted to show you this so you can see that I could add a new user, which would create a machine account, which you could use for a vendor who might not have a domain account in the corporation. Or you just add a domain account or a domain group or any element of the domain that you want. So pretty cool. And here are all the roles, which, of course, you can customize as well. And so some pretty neat stuff there. Oh, by the way, if you want to send somebody an invite who wants to join the site, you just say, hey, I want to send you some mail. Well, you get the point. And go ahead and send the person email. They get email that says how to log in. This will create an account using the same account creation UI I just showed you. So pretty easy to get all the viral infection of people in the company using your SharePoint site. And let me just end by, let's go to the home page of the site. And you say, you know what? That's a pretty bland-looking site. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm just going to hit the Edit button and say, I'd like to edit with Microsoft Front Page. The entire site is editable and customizable with Front Page. So all of that layout, any of the themes, any of the look, you could create a blank page with one list on it. You could keep the whole site however you want. It's all customizable with Front Page and as easy as just hitting the Edit button and opening it up there. Okay? Let me just wrap up by talking a little about the organizational experience. Bryna Hebert is going to do a huge presentation on that. She's become quite the tradition at this gathering, so I encourage you to listen closely there. We have not forgotten about the organizational experience. I want to make sure, just because we talk a lot about end users, agility in Office matters a great deal. So we've enhanced across the board a huge amount of the deployment tools, management information. I want to show you my favorite feature, which is the integration of NewProf with the Office Custom Installation Wizard. So they're all kind of one thing now. You just kind of say, here's the Exchange account for the person. It's just step 16 and 17 of the customization wizard as you create new accounts. So that's a quick look at Office XP. I want to wrap up by just making sure that everybody knows that Office XP is a critical part of Microsoft's .NET experiences. It's kind of interesting because we've talked a lot about .NET broadly as in terms of developers and in consumers, but we haven't done as good a job really communicating the role of productivity applications and XP that they play together. Of course, when we launched XP, we've been working hard on all of these, on the web lifestyle and web work style kind of experiences. And so what we've done with Office XP is we've actually got a bunch of features in the product that really are things that are part of the .NET world and really are delivering today on the things that we're starting to tell customers are our long-term vision, which is really how we plan these things to happen. Those of you that worked on Office 4 might remember we came out with information at your fingertips, sort of in the middle of working on Office 4. We had all that IYF stuff. Remember the Starbucks coffee demo and things like that? This is the kind of stuff we've got for .NET. The .NET is really three key things. First, it's software as a service. And that's really, we have a subscription offering for Office XP for our end users. The Office Watson, you can't get more service-oriented than fixing the product as it breaks. And that's really what that's all about. Another service we're going to offer that's really about maintenance and really building on the product is the ability to move your settings from one machine to another. It's currently part of the org. We actually have it in beta out on the Office Update website. Another thing is the integration and aggregation of services. So we've got a whole bunch of services that are really part of the product now. You want to create a new document in Word? You want to use a template? Just click on Templates on Microsoft.com, and you get taken to the template gallery that we have there now, and it's all integrated smoothly in. You don't have to download the template and do some weird thing. It just kind of works. We have another one where you can publish your free busy time. No matter what your provider is, you can just publish your calendar's free busy out to the web so your partners or your customers can work with you on scheduling things. We also want to build smart... Oh, I love it when they applaud for just talking. What do you think? That's good. That's a good sign. And then finally, .NET is all about having smart, service-aware systems to enable richer experiences. You've seen all of the work we've done, or some of the work we've done in XML and team services. One of the other challenges I want to give you, a custom smart tag for every one of your customers. It's not hard. In fact, we do it for every one of the reviewers. You want to suck up to a reviewer? We make a smart tag that recognizes their name and points them to their bio on their website. So I can suck up with the best of them, and I will do that. I have no shame. So I have just now given you a quick look at Office XP, what we were thinking when we built it. I hope it made sense to you. I'd want to use a couple minutes and maybe answer some questions, if anybody has any, or invite any of the partners or any of the Microsoft folks. There's some open mics. Please feel free to do that, and don't be shy. I promise I'll be nice. Only if you are, though. Sure, why don't we start over here? And if you'd say who you are and where you're from, that'd help too.
Okay, Angel Cruz from Caribbean office and Juan Puerto Rico. Question, in Outlook, I heard that the Outlook had a lot of rework. And my question is MAPI still an integral part of Outlook? Because I remember when you look at the directory, that it was truncated names. Did we get rid of it, or are we still truncating the names in the directory list?
A couple of questions there. Let me address the first part, and I'll have to get a little bit more information offline for the second part of the question. But we did do a lot of rework in Outlook. In fact, the rework we did was to get rid of, I think, probably your favorite feature, which is the dual modes of Outlook in corporate and workgroup and internet only. So now there's just one mode, which is the unified inbox. And so that was a huge amount of work. We still expect the MAPI to be super important because it's how you talk to our Exchange servers. Is that Joel? It is Joel from our Office Advisory Council and Boeing, who's going to now ask us a question too.
Yeah, Steve, this is wonderful. Thanks very much. Great experience here. I just was thinking of the new policy that we have on the no system files update, right, from the applications, and wondering if you could say a word or two about that.
I certainly can. No system file updates in Office XP. There's the word I will say. That's good. Come on. For customers that are running Office 2000 or Windows 2000, an upgrade of Office XP will never require a reboot. So we don't touch any of those files. Which I might add, more of a reason to have Office 2000, but hey. Sure, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question about Outlook, because I just dial in, then start up Outlook. I know that's not the way to go with a slow connection, but I just hate it that when I click an attachment or I'm downloading something, that I can't go back to Outlook and go through some other messages while it's downloading this attachment. Can you comment on that?
That's a good question. I think the best way to answer that is we've done a great deal of work in synchronization speed, in sending bytes over the wire, and in working in offline and having great offline profiles. And I really want to encourage people to have folks work with Outlook in offline mode when they're connecting over a slow line or also a noisy line. I actually use, at my desktop at work is a really old, the first generation Sony laptop that weighs like 9 pounds and stuff. And I only connect wireless and I only use offline. And it's amazing. It turns out it's really been interesting because that's the way that Lotus has been telling their customers to run for years, is to always run in this kind of offline mode. And I think that they were probably right, and we didn't do as good a job making Outlook work well in that mode. We have added some amount of background processing and the ability to do some other things while the machine is busy or downloading stuff. I can't promise that that 7 meg PowerPoint presentation will not suck up your whole line and make it hard, but definitely encourage you to work offline. We put together some white papers. Some of them are actually on Microsoft.com/Office already, and others will be part of the sales tools. I'm going to take one more question over here. Oh, wait, no, over there. Sorry. And then I'm going to hang around for the break because you guys deserve one, and Jeff's going to come up and make a couple of announcements in a second.
Hi, I'm Lior from the Israeli sub. I've been using the beta for a few months now, and it rocks. Excellent job, you guys. I have one question with regard to the send for review feature. It's amazing. The first time I saw it, I said to myself, hey, this is something I want to demo to customers, and it took me about 5 minutes to find it. Why did you guys hide this feature so much?
You ask a very good question about send for review. So the question is, do we hide the UI for send for review? We actually did a huge number of studies to find out how people go and insert documents and send attachments. So the first thing that we noticed is that the file send command is actually the most frequent way that documents get sent around to other people. So the file send command is where the send for review is. You should also know that when you attach a document, about 95% of send for review just works flawlessly just by attaching it. It works a little bit better when you're in the application that created the document because we can write some information like this was the last version, and we can put a little GUID so we know the original and stuff like that. So we had to actually, for the 100% experience, put it in the send command. So that's kind of where we did the UI. It's a good piece of feedback. We're always struggling with having the really big button that says use the new feature versus
it's a great feature, so make it show.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks everybody. I'm going to hang out. I'll be somewhere over here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Steven.
Thanks.